talking about journeys, destinations, culture, adventure, gear, conservation, and all the things we haven't yet thought of. This episode is brought to you by Sunwear Solar Technology, a premium manufacturer of fixed and portable solar panels for overlanding vehicles and marine applications. Designed and manufactured in Germany, Sunwear panels are tested under the harshest environmental conditions to ensure rugged reliability for years to come. Trust Sunwear for your solar energy needs, no matter where your adventures take you. Check out their website at sunwear.solar. You'll find the link in the description below. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the At Overland Europe podcast. Now, not everybody has heard of Big Agnes, the outdoor specialist whose products span tents, sleeping bags and pads, furniture, backpacks, clothing and accessories. They proudly call themselves the Mother of Comfort, with a mission to get us outside and help us share their love of the backcountry. Based in Steamboat Springs, deep in Colorado's Mount Zirkel wilderness, the company takes its name from one of the area's highest peaks, Big Agnes. Today, my guest is co-founder Bill Gamber. We're about to dive into what drives him and his team and how they've built a brand whose pioneering gear has become some of the most sought after in its field. So, with this concise introduction out of the way, let's pick up the conversation. Bill, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. We haven't actually met before, so this is we're going to be learning a lot about each other, I think, as we go along here. But let's begin with Big Agnes. The company was founded in 2000, so that means you're celebrating your 25th anniversary this year, which is quite a big thing. In all that time, you've come a long way. So let's start right at the very beginning. How and why was the company formed?
We spent a lot of time outdoors, my friends and I did, and we just wanted to make a more comfortable sleeping system. It was that simple. And so when I was in university, I started another company, and we just made some outdoor apparel, made some, bicycling apparel, and then also some fleece products. So we have our own, actual sewing shop. And so we just started to make our own sleeping bag samples, and we made a sleeping bag that had a sleeve so you could put the sleeping pad in it and you never roll off your pad again. So that was sort of the start of the company, was a product concept. And we developed a sample, went to the outdoor retailer show. It was in Salt Lake City, and showed some samples of product and took some orders, and then tried to figure out where we were going to make them. So we made some good connections at that show, and started to travel throughout Asia looking for the best manufacturers and best materials and everything. And that's where it all started.
Wow. So you've sort of gone from passion into production, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were doing a lot of rock climbing at the time, and backcountry, trips and fishing up in the mountains. And so we just developed a good sleep system, and then built the company from there.
Wow. I was looking through some notes earlier on, and one of the things I noticed was that in 2008, you introduced what you called the diversion air pad, and this was using 100% recycled insulation. Now, if we look at sort of today, sustainable production, etc., is pretty much standard. But we're talking here 2008. That was quite some time ago. You were very forward thinking in how you were positioning your company, I think.
Yeah. We also developed somewhere right around that time. Backpacker Magazine put out a challenge for sustainable product, and we made a tent at the time called the Salt Creek, and that tent has evolved through the years and is still actually in our line in a different format. But at that time, we made a tent with totally recycled fabrics, clean anodization with the poles, and it was funny because it was a dye-free recycled fabric that we used. So it was way ahead of its time, but it wasn't extremely competitive because the fabric was heavier.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things about it that we were held back with the availability of the materials at the time. But we were surely the first company ever to introduce a product that was that, sustainable at the time. And now when we see it, I mean, we use so many more highly technical fabrics that are recycled, different solution dye fabrics that we're using, much cleaner production and energy efficient ways to make product, And I mean, that's the whole way through from the diversion sleeping pad, developed into our entire pad line. Now we use recycled fabrics and sustainable materials and processes. And the factories that we work with, after 25 years of partnerships with these factories, it's turned into they come to us and say, well, we can do this. And, they have solar panels on, almost every factory that we work with has sustainable, renewable electric and energy. And so it's been really fun to see what's happened in 25 years,
Yeah. I think the most recent thing which I read was you're using discarded fishing nets as base material as well.
Yeah. And, fishing nets use very high quality nylon typically. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's such a good material to reuse because like I was saying, like with our original tent that we made recycled fabrics out of, it wasn't very technical fabric, it was a little heavier, so to be able to recycle a fishing net into technical camping gear fabrics, it's given us opportunities that we didn't have 15 years ago or 20 years ago, mm-hmm. even 10 years ago.
So where do the, let's say, discarded fishing nets come from? Are they, I don't know, do fishing companies say, oh, we're going to buy new ones, so we're going to just push these out the door? Or do you actually dig some out of the sea again?
Well, it's an amazing process. And, when we first heard about it and started working with some of our yarn suppliers, even, before it's even woven into a fabric, we were like, are we going to run out? Right. And it's unbelievable how many discarded fishing nets there are. And so the fishermen are constantly getting new fishing nets. That's sort of the kind of interesting part of how it all works. Because they repair them, they work on it. Eventually they just, if you go to some really, really interesting places in the world, like in the Philippines, where it's a big fishing culture, and you see like piles of fishing nets on docks, right? Mm. So what's become, I think it was the early challenge was how do you actually, get the fishing nets that, because a lot of them just are sitting and rotting on a dock, right? But there's this whole process of getting the nets from the fishermen, whether some of them are actually in the ocean, but most are they just pile them up. And now there's a really great process. And some of the fishermen actually are getting paid, to recycle their nets. So, but there's an amazing amount of fishing nets. So that's something that people are making sunglasses out of them. They're making, it's not just technical fabrics in the outdoor industry. It's a really great product to reuse. That's been a really fun part of what we do. And, we travel all through, globally, when sourcing materials and producing product, and we go to a lot of these areas and you see all the fishing nets. Mm. So pretty neat.
That's good. I mean, because there's always, you see on Instagram and Facebook, you see these reels popping up of animals caught up in old fishing nets. So you're actually making a big dent in that now by using the nets and turning them into something, decent again.
Yeah. And I think it's like any recycled material, right? Like supposedly aluminum cans, right? Mm-hmm. A beer can be recycled. It's infinite how many times you can recycle that. So to make virgin yarn for nylon or polyesters, right? Like that's a whole process. So to be able to use a renewable source like fishing nets and put it into an outdoor product, it's really great. It's just like aluminum. We're working with our tent pole suppliers and recycling aluminum to put back into tent poles. Even 5 years ago, that wasn't doable. And, we're like, well, geez, can't we just make a tent pole out of a beer can, right? And you can't do that because of the quality of the materials that we use to make a tent pole are much higher grade than other,
right,
recycled aluminum that just goes back into the stream. So we use, space shuttle quality aluminum to make tent poles.
That's quite a big step forwards as well, then, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, what's been so exciting for us, at Big Agnes from the beginning, we just wanted to make really cool outdoor gear,
right?
And we didn't know what we were doing. And so we were able to really connect with these incredible, manufacturers of materials and to make, just to like produce a really high quality tent. I think it was about 2 years after we started Big Agnes, we started making tents, which was super fun. Tents are one of my most favorite, products to work on just because it's shelter. People depend on you to keep them comfortable and dry, in bad weather. And so it's really a cool category to work on, and to see the amount of just the way we've come in the 25 years that we've been in business, and to be able to use just incredible fabrics and materials that were not available at the beginning. And then, just like tent hubs, when we first started, basically tent poles were just two straight poles. And now we can make the architecture all kinds of different shapes and steeper walls and more livable space and lighter weight tents. And it's been a fun ride so far.
Now you really have come a long way, because as you said, you didn't actually know a great deal about the business, but you knew you needed certain things, such as a better sleeping arrangement. And then you've gone on and you've developed not only new products, but you've included new materials. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It's been a hell of a ride. Yeah, it has not been easy.
I bet. So if you now look at the product range you've got, and it's grown quite considerably since the early days, what are the big sellers? What are the popular products?
We have our tents are our biggest category of our business, and I mean, high quality sleeping bag and a high quality tent. The tents are usually a little bit more of an investment than a sleeping bag, but we have, like our Copper Spur series in our tent line is definitely our most successful tent. And, it's just been great. We always challenge our team, like, what's the next generation of the Copper Spur, right? And we just introduced what we call our hyper bead fabric, which, with all of the different challenges with chemicals, there's chemicals that we don't use and don't, can't use, don't want to use. And then we did this research, and the whole new chemistry of our hyperbead fabrics, the waterproof coatings are amazing and very sustainable and very environmentally clean, so that's been a really exciting step forward for Big Agnes. And I think we've really challenged the entire industry to better themselves because of that technology. But then, like our Rapide pad line in our sleeping mats, it's an incredibly successful line for us and was a really fun project to make a comfortable, lightweight sleeping pad. We're selling a lot more wide pads now. So we've been able to make pads lighter so you can take a wider pad into the backcountry or use it, car camping or overlanding. So we just constantly, one of our taglines is the mother of comfort. Big Agnes is the mother of comfort, right? And we're known as I would say best known for a backpack, lightweight backpacking line, but we've always introduced comfort in that, right? So if you're carrying a really lightweight tent, that's more comfortable to carry it, right? But we don't want to skimp on the actual comfort and the usability of the fabric, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make the space more usable. Like we put in pockets and things in tents, so your management of your things inside your tent, right? Things like that. And then also we just have a few sleeping bag lines within our sleeping bag category, and that's been really successful as well. We still make sleeping bags that have pad sleeves. We have one called the Torchlight EXP, which stands for expandable. So you can zip the sides or unzip the sides to make it wider or smaller. So like if it's really cold and you want to make sure you're really efficient with your space, you can zip it so the side expanders, are smaller. And then if it's you just want a bigger, wider bag, or maybe just for your shoulders and elbows, or for your feet, it just depends. You can adjust it. So that's been a really, really great project too.
So your product range is, let's say it's on paper, it's comparable to your competitors, but you've really, raised the bar by bringing a lot of innovation into the products at the same time.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, because I know one thing for sure that, and this interests me quite a lot, is the fact that you're also producing sleeping bags for extreme conditions, like right down to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which coincidentally is minus 40 degrees centigrade. That's a hell of a step.
Yep. Yeah. And building shelters, the same thing for extreme weather. And, we have our customers and good friends that have been on K2 and Everest and, all the remote corners of the world, and again, I think that's because we love to get outside, right? And we're in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. We will do a company camp out where we'll head up to the base of Big Agnes Mountain. It's a basin where, there's a lake called Mica Lake, and it's full of native cutthroat trout. And we go up to 12,000 feet on Big Agnes, and we're back in the office the next day. Like we just do a quick overnight camp out, and so the access that we have to the mountains, I mean, it's just right out the back door. I mean, we have Nordic ski jumps are right across from my office. I watch my kids ski jump. I have 3 kids, and they've been ski jumpers, and we like a couple of our crew this morning went for a mountain bike ride before work, and I didn't go because I was meeting you.
Totally good. Thanks for that.
And so, it's whether it's we have Nordic ski trails. We have 40K of Nordic groomed ski trails right across from our office. We walk across the bike bridge across the river and put our skate skis on and go skate ski, or we put on our skimo uphill, skis on. We skin up to the top of the mountain that's just right beside our office here, and we're in downtown Steamboat. So there's a coffee shop next door, and there's skiing and fishing and kayaking and mountain biking and trail running, like all from within our office. So that comes right into how we make product, right? Like we don't make product just because we're like in business and we're like a business brand. You know what I mean? We're an outdoor brand, and we make product because we love to use it. And some of our toughest critics are employees.
Wow.
So anyway, it's really fun. It truly is. I've been doing it for 25 years with Big Agnes, and it's an amazing ride. On the other side, it is a business, and it's an absolute pain in the ass sometimes. It's been a real challenge since COVID, and now with Trump and his ridiculous tariffs, that make no sense at all. We have 75 employees in the US, and then we have employees in Europe and the UK, and then we have distributors all around the world, and we're highly impacted negatively from the tariffs. Makes no sense. We depend on a global economy. Everybody's always telling me, you got to take it easy on what you say about, the tariffs and everything. And I'm like, it's ridiculous. There's no common sense. It's impossible for us to produce what we produce, the product lines. We make the best product in the world with the best factories in the world. It just so happens that they're in, 7 different countries that we work with.
Is that, I mean, I understand certainly the problem with the tariffs, but we're not going to turn this into a political discussion. But I assume that sort of you've grown your business in the US and you've then expanded overseas. So what other challenges, tariffs aside, have you had to face during this evolution moving forwards?
Challenges other than tariffs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we are absolutely self-funded, and we're super proud of that. We have never been in the position of, having a huge investor. We don't have government grants. We have put in $1, made $1, reinvested it into the company. Right. So, and that's 25 years later, we're still doing the same thing. And so, we've invested, our growth is solely dependent on borrowing from the bank and reinvesting the money, And so, I think that's something, like I said, we're really proud of, and our competitors, most are not like that, where they've been bought and sold and big investors and a lot of investors behind, and, so that's been a challenge for sure. That when we see an incredible opportunity, we have to figure out where to get the money from to be able to, we're the first company to introduce, light. We have LED lights in tents, our Mountain Glow line. It's amazing. Like, you go into a tent and you just turn on it. It's a very light, very simple, way to be able to see at night in your tent. And then we've been really challenged ourselves we were the first company to do a freestanding 4-pound tent, and then a 3-pound tent, and then a 2-pound tent, and we've always challenged ourselves to make better lightweight quality backpacking gear, or a really great family camping base camp. So our challenges, have been growing a business independently. And then I'd say just, COVID, I mean, it was nuts. We were like, whoa, what are we going to do? And so, I mean, we spent that first month, it was, in March when that all went down, in early April, we were able to get outside and still backcountry ski when everybody else was in lockdown. So that was a big advantage to be here. But we would ski in the morning and then plan the entire day trying to figure out how we save the business, because we didn't know what was going to happen. Right. And we had way too much inventory. Everything was shut down in April. And then by August, we were out of inventory because everybody went camping. So, and then we just chased the supply chain to get back into stock. And that took years. And then all of a sudden, things sort of caught up and sort of slowed down. And then we had too much inventory, just making sure that we're abiding by like all the different regulations with PFAS and things like that. And so the last 4 or 5 years has definitely been the most challenging, and we're a bigger company than we were. So like, we have to stay really nimble and yeah. So I think that's always been the challenge. I mean, everybody's always coming after us because we are innovative. So we'll introduce something, and then we see our competitors follow a year or two later with very similar product. I would say we're super proud to be the innovators in our categories, and then we watch our competitors follow. So that's our challenge, to make sure that we are setting the bar high.
Well, that's the penalty of being a pioneer, isn't it?
I guess so. Yeah. Sometimes it's not always that financially successful, when we do things like that. But honestly, we don't really care. We have fun, and we want to make sure that we're just really putting out really cool new gear.
Yeah. So what's the situation at the moment with Europe? Because I came across Big Agnes quite some time ago. Is it a show in Germany? How is the market developing for you in Europe?
Yeah, it's It's been really great. It was a challenging start just because our product was quite unique for the European market, and I mean, just like it was in the US, but we had gained the momentum, grew the business in the US and Canada. And so we just built the European market the same way, just one step at a time.
Mm.
So we used to go to the Friedrichshafen show in
Yeah.
Germany, and we love that show. It was just so fun, and we always take our bikes or we go and climb or ski. We take advantage of going to Europe because we just love to be in Europe. The accessibility to incredible mountains and really fun road rides on our bikes, climbing the mountain passes in the Alps. Anywhere through Switzerland and Austria and Slovenia, Italy. We love just all the different the Pyrenees between France and Spain, and it's just really fun for us to get over there and spend time in the small mountain towns, just like our mountain town. So last
Incredible.
year we went to Slovenia, and I took one of my sons. So we went to the outdoor show in Germany, and now in Munich, which was not this year. They canceled it this year, which was really disappointing. But we went to Slovenia and rode bikes and fished, and just the rivers in Slovenia are absolutely spectacular. So we love the Dolomites. I
Yeah.
mean, it's because of our business, we've had the opportunity to be able to travel around the world. Spend a lot of time in really cool areas in Asia, and ski in Japan. Like we'll be working on a product in Taiwan, and then we fly to Japan and ski for the weekend, and then we go to Korea and work on product, and it's we've turned it into it's a lifestyle more than a business.
Yeah. It's actually quite interesting because I was going to say that, you've grown this amazing business, you're developing new products, and it takes a hell of a lot of time to do all that. And I was going to ask you, do you still have time to actually enjoy the great outdoors? But I think you've spun it all around, and you're saying that you've got an excellent balance here, and you really are still doing what you did in the very beginning and what actually drove you to create a business.
Yeah, I think that gets lost sometimes in the outdoor industry, where people just, when brands are born, and it's usually out of passion, and then they get sold, and then bigger companies run them and just run them to sell more product, right? Where we just we love the outdoors, and we love our employees, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's not all just fun and games.
I wish it was.
But being in Steamboat Springs and then being able to go to really cool places, whether it's working on new product or testing product or going to like a trade show, and we just try to always add on and take advantage of those trips. And then just to be in Steamboat Springs and be able to go into our backyard, it's like I said, I mean, people will be trickling in this morning after going on a mountain bike ride or going for a trail run, or yeah, it's pretty wild. Like I grew up in a family business in Pennsylvania, in the honey business.
Oh, wow.
And so my dad would always take our family out to the American West and see the beekeepers, and we would fly fish. So my dad and I are passionate fly fishing partners, and so I grew up in that business, and originally I was sort of raised to run the business. And then I moved to Colorado, and my parents were always really supportive of that. But to see how my dad would take advantage of going to see beekeepers, but be able to fly fish in the American West, right? Like, I think he instilled that in me to love the outdoors and to be able to try to, I mean, don't get me wrong, we work a lot, we work and it's challenging, on our families, and I have great business partners, so Rich and Len are my two partners. The three of us are what have been able to really make a really cool business, So I'm really fortunate to have those guys.
Yeah.
I always get all the the kudos, right? But they're the ones that do all the hard work.
So is that three of you who have been together since the very beginning?
Yeah, I started with an original partner, and that was kind of short lived. And right away, then Rich and Len were able to come in and essentially buy him out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had a good start. Really, my original partner was a really good guy, and just it worked out better to make the change, and then Rich and Len came in right away. It was within like the first year and a half or something like that.
Right.
And so yeah, Rich and Len and I have been partners for over 23 years.
Mm-hmm. Incredible.
And that's as you know, right? Relationships are always a challenge, and
yep.
These guys, I mean, we bike together, we ski together, we go and have beers with friends together. We've remained really great friends. We're fortunate, and it's tough. A lot of times it's really a challenge.
Yeah. And
we just all get along really well and work together really well. Feel really fortunate.
Yeah, I think it's hugely important having, let's say, the right people around you when things don't go according to plan. As you were saying a moment ago, COVID came along and nobody expected it. Everything changed, and you went from overstocked to understocked. And those are two very different problems, but they all need sorting out. And doing it with a team who's been around for so long makes it that much easier. Yeah,
and our group of directors, product director and sales directors, I mean, incredible people, and so it's a team effort. And like I said, a lot of times I'm the one that gets the credit, but our North American sales director has been in the business for a long time, and he's a super hard climber. Mm-hmm. His name's Craig Hatton, like just adds so much. And then, our product director, Michael Thompson, he's one that's on the mountain bike this morning. He's pushing me last night to ride, and I was like, probably can't pull it off. But, we all get out together. And then our international sales director, and he runs the business. Our international business is in the UK. Mm-hmm. A guy named Mark Flanagan. He's awesome. So we all get together. When some of us that are working, in different locations, when we get together, it's just really fun, and we all love to run the business.
That's brilliant.
It's just great to see. When we see our product in so many different corners of the world, like we just love that. I mean, it's we have this gritty little company in Steamboat Springs, and you see when you see people out in the outdoors with outdoor gear, usually there's Big Agnes in there, and that's it's pretty flattering for us.
Fantastic. Do you take on a lot of the feedback from the market as well? So if somebody came to you and said, "Oh, it might not be completely up your street, but I've got an idea," do you listen to people like that?
Yeah. To a certain extent. I mean, like, believe me, everybody is a product designer. Everybody that gets outdoors has an idea, right? Yep. And so yeah, we especially like from our employees that like our the people in accounting and marketing, and we have this we do all of our own repairs. Mm-hmm. So we try to make sure it's one of the most sustainable things that we do. If you tear a tent or whatever it is, we try to repair it and keep it out there, instead of going into the trash, right? Yeah. And so a lot of our development now, and future development is all about being able to recycle our product. We have a sleeping pad line that was the first one ever in the industry, called the Zirkel back, where it's all recyclable materials. So not only is it recycled, it's also recyclable. Okay. So that's the future of our planet, is obviously to, instead of using virgin materials and it's to use reusable materials. I think is really important. So that's been a big push with us. But yeah, I mean, it's the marketplace changes rapidly, and consumers are always asking for different things, and we definitely listen,
Right.
For sure. But we also are Big Agnes, and we make our product. Like, we're the ones that make the decisions, and we try to introduce product that people were like, oh, wow, like I didn't even think of that. And like, I need that. I want that,
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the market, that's for sure. But I think one of the most important things, what you said a moment ago, is that you are Big Agnes and you do what is good and right for Big Agnes, which is then also good for the market.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this year is your 25th anniversary.
Yeah, we're actually going into it. I think like we officially call, I think 2001 is our official first year.
Okay.
And so we're celebrating our 25th anniversary in 26.
Right.
It's we started working on the business, but we didn't officially start it, I think, until 21. So.
Okay.
And we're introducing some anniversary product. So that's been really fun for our marketing team. And
well, we won't go into that, otherwise it won't be a surprise next year.
Yeah, keep your eye out.
Will do, definitely. So you're obviously, as you say, it's a lifestyle what you do. It's not just a business. You've involved it completely in everything you do. What's your next personal big adventure?
My personal adventure. I've got a pretty good list, really. Probably just taking a big trip into the Himalayas, to more of a high trek, maybe just bagging some like sub peaks,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what we've been talking about working on. And that's fun to take new product.
Yeah.
Right. It's really fun to take the Big Agnes product and go and do a trip like that.
Sure. Is that something then which you involve your whole family with?
Yeah. I mean, usually it just depends on what it is. But I would say that one, we'll see. So a couple backcountry ski trips that definitely will involve, my family. And then also there's a company trip so I'd say this is another one of the bigger adventures, but for 2026, for our 25th anniversary, we're going to do the Colorado Trail as a company. We do it sort of almost as like a relay.
Mm-hmm.
So our 20th anniversary, we had done the Continental Divide Trail through Colorado. So we went from New Mexico to Wyoming as a company. And that was a real challenge to figure out exactly how we were going to coordinate all that. We did have a really funny start to that. So it was an interesting start. We sent our crew down to the New Mexico border, and the road that cuts across the trail where we could start, you had to actually backtrack and go to New Mexico. So we had to go south to touch New Mexico to turn around to go north. In the meantime, the National Forest had closed the forest in Colorado because of wildfires.
Oh, wow.
And our crew was out of reception. They had no cell reception. So we had to figure out, and they were just dropped off, and our team that dropped them off was shuttling the truck to the next spot. We had this whole coordinating, project. And so that we had people spread out, and nobody knew that they actually were not supposed to go into the forest. And eventually we got a hold of them. They turned around, and then we had to skip that section, started up the trail farther. Basically, before we completed the whole thing, we sent a crew back when they opened up the San Juan Forest again to go back and finish that section. So we did do the complete thing, but it was back and forth, and but what an amazing trip. It was really fun.
How long is a trip like that?
I forget how long that actually took. I think we did it in about a month. It was a month or 6 weeks, something like that. And then so the Colorado Trail will probably be, I think it's 500 miles. And so and it's cool because like the Colorado Trail and the Continental Divide Trail, have sections where it's either in the wilderness, so it's backpack only, or horses.
Mm-hmm.
We did a little bit of horse packing on this one. We mountain bike it. There's all these different modes of transportation to complete the trail. And we kind of celebrate that, right? When there's wilderness, we love it. We have a section of the Continental Divide Trail that goes the whole way just up on the ridge up here. It goes across Buffalo Pass, but it goes from Rabbit Ears Pass to Wyoming. And Big Agnes owns that section for trail maintenance, and we clean up any trash or whatever. So we always do some work parties to keep that section in good shape.
Oh, that's brilliant. Leave no trace. Fantastic. Yes. So when you do it's a massive hike, essentially, over such a long distance, you break it down into different groups of people, or are there actually people who do the whole thing?
Yeah. So when we do it as a group, we break it down into sections, but some of our employees have done the whole thing.
Oh, that's quite a feat.
From Mexico to Canada. And then, we have quite a few employees that have done either the Appalachian Trail, the Continental Divide Trail, or the Pacific Crest Trail. We have an employee right now that's on the Pacific Crest Trail through California, Oregon, Washington.
Wow. That's a hell of a feat to do that.
Yeah. And that's, those are like 6-month trips, Currently, I haven't found the opportunity to be able to break away for 6 months,
But it's good to hear that you as a business support your employees so that they can take the time off to do it.
Yeah. I mean, we've worked different types of agreements with employees to be able to do things like that. Yeah. We're passionate about the outdoors, so we love to get our people outside for sure. And it just, it adds so much more. We had a product designer for a long time, and she was originally she had been a ski patroller and a river guide.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point she worked for us full time, and then we started to work out, the outdoors was calling her pretty loudly. And so for a couple of years we were giving her time where she river guided in the summer, and then there was part of the winter where she would ski patrol. And then, she would come back from guiding a river trip with great product ideas, So she actually, had a degree in product design. So it really was great to support her to be able to get out and work as a professional guide, and then to be able to come back and design product.
It's incredible listening to this, because it's very clear you're all passionate about being outside, but you've developed new products. You're recycling fishing nets and other materials. You're not only a business producing product to be consumed, but you're very proactive in the environment.
Yeah. I mean, obviously without a healthy environment, right, where the outdoors and the outdoor industry has nothing.
Yeah.
So we depend on that. The fact that we are able to get all around the globe and see the impact that humans have made on Earth, sometimes it can be pretty frustrating,
Yeah.
And I mean, we're part of the problem, right? Every single person on Earth is a part of the problem. And when you run a business, there's a footprint, and we are doing everything possible to have the lightest footprint. And I do think it's interesting. You hear so many, there's so much talk about like carbon neutral and carbon offsets and all that, and I mean, the bottom line is, when you get out of bed in the morning, you have an impact. So it's like, how do you make that a positive impact? We take it very seriously, but we're very realistic too. And we know that, I rode my bike to work this morning, right? Like anytime that I cannot drive my truck, I have a Tacoma, our employees all get bonus points for commuting either riding bikes or walking or riding an e-bike or whatever it is to not, drive a car, take public transportation.
Yeah.
We support that. We also buy all of our electricity all the power that we use for our facilities. We have a couple different warehouses and office space and everything, and we buy alternative energy. We actually pay more to offset, and buy wind and solar. And then we have solar panels on one of our office buildings. And then I've lived off the grid for 35 years. So I've actually have wind and solar power at my house. And it's the second house that I've lived in that has been totally 100% off the grid. No power lines into the house, no phone line.
That's living a dream, isn't it? I think a lot of people would like to do that, but you've actually gone out and done it as well.
Yeah. Well, and I always make sure, to be, I'm like, I'm not better than anybody, right? Like, so we have a propane generator as a backup. Mm-hmm. So if there's too much snow and not enough sun or wind or anything, we every now and then we'll have to use a generator to back up the power. But we live in a really, a nice house and use regular electricity all the time. So we're not like, we like to show that it's possible. We did upgrade our system last year, and it's amazing. The system is, we don't have to run the generator hardly at all anymore, mm-hmm. ever. So it's really great. But the technology has really changed in 35 years. But my very first house, I lived in this old miner's cabin, a log cabin that had two golf cart batteries was the power that we used. So that was just like living on a sailboat. Yeah. That was very meager, but it was fun.
I'm kind of guessing that where your house is also in beautiful setting.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate. We live about 6 miles out of town. The Strawberry Park Hot Springs, which Steamboat's very famous for, is just a half mile down the road from where we live. And so we, like last Sunday, we went for a family hike and caught a bunch of brook trout in the stream that's not far from our house, and found an old elk antler, shed. Oh, wow. And that's just like from walking from our house. We have moose in our yard a lot right now. There's a lot of moose around. Bears, there's elk and deer, and yeah, I feel very fortunate. But you can live in downtown Steamboat and see more bears going through town than you do probably at our house. So it's pretty wild.
Incredible.
And we have a small local ski area with the ski jumps and where the kids train after school, and the 40K of trails I talked about. And then the main Steamboat ski area is about 2 miles from our office, which is just up behind me. I can just see it from my office. So, the accessibility to getting outdoors is unmatched. It's just so great for our employees and raising kids here. And it's just I feel incredibly fortunate. And like I said, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I love Pennsylvania. And we had a family cabin. My dad introduced us to the outdoors, and it's great to be able to live a life that I loved growing up, and to be able to have that as a true lifestyle and raise our family in the same way. Feel really lucky. Love it.
You are certainly a lucky man. Yes. And it's generally it's incredible to see that this, I'll say it again, lifestyle is actually possible. You mentioned earlier that companies, they get bought up by bigger companies, and it all becomes a number crunching practice. Then it's about selling more product, getting more effective, cost-effective manufacture. Maybe quality suffers through that. And because of your company and personal philosophy, you've stayed away from that trend.
Well, yeah, I won't say that we're running a business.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
And the costs have gone up. Health insurance through the roof. And so, we run a business, but we don't skip on quality. Yeah. We surely look for more efficiencies, right? To be able to manufacture and the best practices. But no, I think the fact that we are self-owned and self-funded, we're able to do that much easier than some of the bigger corporations, especially anything that's publicly traded,
Yeah.
they have different challenges than we do, and there's great companies out there, so, we respect our competitors, and we have great friends in the industry, and, we're all up against the same challenges.
Amazing. So let me sort of draw this conversation, as much as I'd like to keep going for hours and hours. I know you're a busy man. What's the next milestone for Big Agnes?
The one category we haven't talked about, we've been making backpacks for a few years, and that's a really awesome category as well. Really fun to work on. I think when we first introduced the Regen, the fishing net fabrics. And so, but I would say, sort of the next steps, next generation is really just to continue in the categories that we're in and expand our distribution. We just love to have our product available, throughout the world. And so we have tremendous opportunity of growth in the international markets, particularly throughout Europe. Yeah. So I would say, running an efficient business and being able to get outside more is the current plan.
So it's polishing the balance you've already got, because you're doing pretty good at both of those.
We really, you had mentioned really cold weather gear. We love to make expedition type gear, and so we'll continue to focus on building more gear for extreme environments. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, brilliant. Bill, I'm going to draw this now to a close, but thank you so much for all the insights into the business. For certainly from my point of view, I've known of Big Agnes for several years, but never heard the real detail about what you do and how you do it. So this has been, for me, very enlightening. I think also for the listeners. And I can only wish you that the company continues the way you plan and that you're able to have this wonderful life balance, which you've got, work and play. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's, we're always amazed at how much interest there is in Big Agnes out there. And so for you to take time today to spend with me is really, it's flattering. We love it. So, and we just hope to get more people outside in our gear and get the word out to, just take care of Mother Earth, because kind of all we have,
Absolutely. Right. Well, once again, thank you very much indeed.
Great. Thank you. All right. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for tuning in to the At Overland Europe podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and download our app for more adventures and exclusive content. Remember, you can find our guest social media and websites linked in the description below. Until next time, safe travels.